Maybe you've been around spiritually immature people your whole life, and now you see a spiritually mature person, and now you're confused.
Just tune into the Beingone podcast.
Unified in Christ, let's exalt his name together. He's worthy, the glory belongs to him forever. Praise him on this podcast with your host Samantha. What will be
your host Samantha P. Laguerre, and welcome back to another episode. Kingdom citizens, welcome back. Thank you guys for being here another week. I hope your day is going well. I hope your week is going well. I'm gonna go straight into the episode. You guys know all the nicks and knacks. Leave a review if you feel led to leave a review. Make sure you're following us on social media. But I'm going to go straight into this episode because I feel like the message of this episode is very clear and cut. So the title of the episode today is You're Being Immature. And I feel like the titles have been very in y'all's face. And I don't know if that's good or bad. I don't know if y'all are more likely to click on them or not. But that's just the titles that comes to mind for me. So that's just what y'all get. Okay. But you're being immature. So here's this quote that I don't recall where I got it from, but this is what it says. When you're immature, you seek to do what is forbidden. So I don't know if it was in conversation someone said it, if it was from a book, I don't know. But when you're immature, you seek to do what is forbidden. All I know is I heard it and I was like, yo, that's good, okay? And I heard it and realized that it captures perfectly in a few words what I typically would try to preach on. And what I try to share with people in my life and people that I come in contact with, because I do get certain questions and people have their questions about certain things that I do or don't do and why I do or don't do certain things. And to them, to not do it would be like they're trying to be something. But for me, it's like I'm not trying to be something. I just don't want to do that. Like, it's just natural for me not to do this thing. I just don't want to, right? So in a sense, like when you're immature, the thing that is forbidden becomes almost enticing to you because you're immature. You have not grasped the consequences of what could come out of you doing that thing that is forbidden. When you are told not to do something when you're immature, and when I say immature, it's not like a derogatory term. As you're a child, immaturity does not have to be derogatory. Let me help you out right quick. Oxford Dictionary defines immature as not fully developed. They also have having or showing an emotional or intellectual development appropriate to someone younger. Okay, so that can be a little bit more derogatory. However, for the purpose of this episode, I want to use the not fully developed definition. We also have synonyms such as undeveloped, unripe, unformed. We have juvenile. We have unsophisticated, inexperienced. So these are the terms I want you to have in mind. Some other words I want you to have in mind when I use the term immature. It's not to be derogatory. It's not to come for you. It's not to belittle you. It's simply just what it is. To not be fully developed, to be inexperienced. That's what I'm using this for. So when you're a child, I think it's easier for us to digest it in that language when we say a child, because a child is innocent, right? So when you're a child, you seek to do the thing that you've been told not to do because you're a child. You're curious. Why can't I do it? What comes out of me doing this? They don't have any experience to understand the warning or to understand the consequences. They don't have the capacity to really get a gist of what the consequences that they can face for doing the thing that is forbidden. I say all that to say, if you desire to habitually sin, if you desire to do what you know is wrong, it's because you're still immature. So, if you desire to habitually sin, to do what you know is wrong, it's because you're still a child. And again, being immature, being a child, isn't a bad, nor is it a good thing, right? Like, nobody looks at a child and say, oh my gosh, you're a child. Like, that's so bad. Like, oh my gosh. Like, no, we don't do that. We understand they're a child. So being a child is not inherently wrong, nor is it inherently right. Like, it's not like good or bad. It's just, you're just a child. You know what I mean? So being immature in the sense of spirituality is not a bad or good thing. It's just, that's just where you are, right? If you're a child in the spirit, that's just where you are. You're a child. Like, no one expects a 5-year-old to be 25 tomorrow. That doesn't make any sense. Like, we understand that there are development processes and that growth is required, that it requires time in order for that person to grow and to develop into this thing. I can't look at a 5-year-old and then expect tomorrow that they gonna not only look like a 25-year-old but have the mindset of a 25-year-old. It's just not, you get what I'm saying? Like, it don't make sense. So I say all that to say, to again drive home the fact that it is not bad, nor is it good. Okay? It's just where you are. So in terms of immaturity, in terms of being a child, it's just a state that you're in. It's just where you are. So don't feel bad that, oh my gosh, I do desire to sin. I do desire to do what is wrong. It don't feel bad. It's just, okay, now you know where you are. It's like you desire to be at a certain place, right? When I was a kid, I wanted to be 18. I wanted to be an adult, okay? But I wasn't an adult. I was a child. And I couldn't feel bad at the fact that I was a child because I wasn't an adult. I just knew that eventually I will get there. And I needed to do what I need to do to grow, to, continue going to school, continue to learn, to finally get to the point where I can be an adult. I knew I needed a few more years to pass by, a few more birthdays before I can become officially an adult. So when you're a child in the spirit, do not try to just call yourself mature and try to act like you're mature and try to pretend like you don't want to sin. Like, just be honest with where you are, okay? Just be honest with where you are and realize the state that you're in, where you are on your journey, and set your mind that you're going to grow into this person that you desire to be, which is this spiritually mature person, right? That's the goal. That's the state you desire to be in, and you want to continually grow up in that, right? And it's your actions. Your actions dictate whether you're immature or mature, because it's not as clear as what we see naturally. Like, I can obviously see a child and know that that is a child. I can see an adult and know that it is an adult. But spiritually, you can't just look at a person and know where they are spiritually. Their actions dictate where they are. Their actions dictate whether they are immature or mature. Their actions dictate whether they are a child or an adult. That is how we're able to perceive it in the natural. I'm reminded in the scriptures where it was Samuel who was taking instructions and following the instructions from God to find the next king, which was David at the time. And Samuel had seen some of David's brothers and was like, oh, is it him? Is it him? Is it him? And God was like, we judge people based off what we see. We judge them based off how they appear, but God judges the heart, right? So your actions come from that place, that which is the heart. So when we say, oh, God knows my heart, how you truly want to act and how you truly act speaks to your heart. You can act like you're this person and we see you and we're like, oh my gosh, they're so mature. Oh my goodness, they are so spiritually mature. But in your heart, what you really want to do, they don't see that. And honestly, I think it does you a disservice if you're not honest about what it is that you truly want to do. Where are you truly? Because from that place, you can grow. If you're faking it and you're just doing things that you think that people want you to do, and you're saying things you think people want you to say that you don't genuinely want to say, how do you measure your growth? Like, how do you know you're truly growing? And honestly, I think that a lot of people do think that it's just a matter of acting and doing certain things, even though in my genuineness of heart, I don't want to do it. And I don't believe that that should be the case. I think that's when we get into that realm of lukewarmness, and we look at everybody else and we think that everybody else is in that same boat. Like, we're all just out here pretending. That idea sickens me. And I feel like I get very passionate about it because I remember being in that place in my journey where I did have this act. I was acting right. I had all the right words. I had all the right comeback. I knew what to regurgitate. But in my heart, that ain't what I want to do. That is not what I want to say. I don't even understand what y'all are talking about. Like, so there was this constant unsettledness. I feel like I've had conversations with people and it's like they'll say things and then I'm like, okay, but then why did you do that? And it's like, well, because like, aren't Christians supposed to do that? And it's like, but you didn't genuinely want to do that. Now we're here. Like, now what? It should come from a place of genuinity. Nobody expects a child to be doing grown things. So spiritually, no one is expecting you when you're a child to be doing things that mature spiritual people do. But when you put yourself in spaces that people from the outside looking at you and perceiving you from the outside and not perceiving you spiritually, and you're acting like you're a part of them, you are frustrated and you think that God isn't real and you think everybody else is playing when everybody's not playing. Like, you're the one playing. Like, this is real. So again, your actions dictate whether you're immature or mature. And being immature is not a bad thing. It's just where you are. Okay? 1 Corinthians 13:11 says, when I was a child, I talked like a child, I thought like a child, I reasoned like a child. When I became a man, I did away with childish things. Not when I became a man, I pretended to put away childish things. There's no pretending here. It's just literally your state of being. You were a child, now you are a man. You grew up, right? There's a process in you growing up. You can't pretend to be something that you're not and expect to receive the things that people that are truly there receive. And I think that's what truly frustrates people. How are they getting that? I'm doing this too. You're doing it because you think you're supposed to do it, not because that's coming from the genuineness of your heart. And I'm not here to just tell us where we are on the spectrum, because I'm sure if you're listening, it's because you want to grow up. I want to grow up too, right? I never lacked that desire. That desire never left me of wanting to grow up. I still, even as an adult, still want to grow up. I look forward to naturally my 30s. I look forward to my 40s. I look forward to my 50s. For some reason, I just like to move on. So even spiritually, I'm still in this place of I'm wanting to grow, right? But I'm also very honest about where I currently am. If I don't feel that in my heart to do that, there's still some action of mine that want to do this thing, I let that be known. Like, I'm real with myself. I'm not going to pretend, because who am I fooling? I want what I'm supposed to receive. There are certain benefits that children receive that adults don't receive. There are certain benefits that adults receive that children don't receive. I want to make sure that I'm exactly where I need to be to receive the benefits I need for my growth and for my sanity, for my peace of mind, right? If I need the extra help because I'm here, then I need to be there. Samantha, go back to where you need to be so that you can get the help that you need. Because when you're over here, people over here don't get that type of help, okay? Stay in your own lane, right? So if you see yourself desiring certain things, and if you see yourself acting in a way that you're like, okay, maybe a child of God shouldn't be acting this way, but you see yourself acting in that way, and that's something you truly desire to do, you have something to pray about. Don't try to like, oh, I know I shouldn't be doing this, but for some reason I want to do it, and then you hide yourself from God, and then you pretend like, no, you have something to pray about. This is why we're consistently told to continually pray. There's always something to pray about. So you recognize that maybe I shouldn't be doing this thing. Maybe I shouldn't be desiring this thing. It gives you something to pray about. Be real about where you are. But it should also encourage you to grow up, right? Because if in the genuineness of my heart, I'm doing something that I desire to do and I don't see nothing wrong with what I'm doing, then I'm not going to pray about it because I don't see anything wrong with it. But if I see something wrong with it, that means I have something to pray about. And that means that I'm ready to grow up. I remember when I was a child, I had aunts that were like 4 to 5 years older than me. And so I was always looking up to them. And I think that's why I was wanting to grow up, because they were, like, in a sense, my older siblings. And so I'm always curious about what they're doing. They were, in a sense, my peers, although they should have never really been my peers. But y'all, I thought I was too grown for my own age. So I didn't see them playing with Barbie dolls. And I'm like, I want to grow up. Like, I want to be them. So I stopped playing with the Barbie dolls, right? I stopped doing certain things when I was around them. I was trying to pretend to be their age when I was not their age, because in my heart, I desired to go play with the Barbie dolls and go play with the other kids. Okay? So it's like, it was nothing wrong with playing with it, because that was good for my age. Maybe at their age, you know, playing with that type of stuff, it just didn't make sense for them, for their development, for where they were going. But why would I rid myself of certain things just because I think, like, and listen, y'all, I'm not telling y'all to go out there and go be sinning. That's not what I'm trying to get at. I'm just saying, sometimes we just be so quick to do certain things and jump off the wagon and do things, and we don't have the capacity for it. Okay? Stay in your lane and grow up. Grow up. Don't pretend. Actually grow up. Okay? I don't want this to get twisted. I'm not telling nobody to go out there and sin. Now, when you realize you're doing something, you're desiring something, and you're like, oh, this is bad. Like, this is a sin. I'm doing this. I'm acting in this way. I like dressing like this. I like talking like this, but I don't really like the results I'm getting here. I don't really think I should be talking like this. Like, I'm looking at so-and-so, and so-and-so don't talk like this. And I like how they talk. I like the results that they get. All right, but I still like it here, though. But I'm realizing it. I'm noticing it. So now I have something to pray about. And now it should encourage me to grow up. That means that what you now should do is you should seek for understanding. Because it is understanding that grows you up spiritually. Naturally, you can have understanding, but that don't really grow. I mean, it does psychologically grow you up, right? But going back to spiritually, to grow up, it requires you to have understanding. So there's understanding that I have, that the thing that you desire to do, you want to sin, I have understanding of why I don't sin, or why I wouldn't do that thing. Like, nothing in me desires to do that because of an understanding that I have. Now, if you are wanting to grow up, then you too should seek for understanding as to why maybe doing that thing is not beneficial for you, so that you can actually grow up. Okay? So if you're being told that something is wrong or a sin, but you deeply desire to try it and to do it, my guy, my girl, kingdom citizen, seek understanding. Okay? Because if it is clear and is written in the Bible, you hear the word of God, and it's like, yo, do not do this, do not do that. And you're like, but now I want to do it. I'm reminded of Paul, where he's like, the thing that I want to do, I can't do. But the thing I don't want to do, I keep doing it. That's my flesh. That's my sinful nature. But in order to subject your flesh, your sinful nature, to the spirit, it requires you to have understanding, because then you have something that you're basing your actions on, that you can then subject your body to and say, no, body, we're doing this because of this. So you may not understand in depth why it may be a sin, but you can at least get an understanding of God and his character. So there are certain things that you're just like, well, why can't I do that? And it's like, you might not truly get the whole story. But what you can understand is God. What you can understand is his character. You can understand that he has my best interest in mind. God, he is the Alpha and the Omega, the beginning and the end. That means that he has the end in mind. He has the beginning in mind. That means he has the present in mind. So if he's saying no, I know that this no is for my good. Do you understand? So even if I don't know specifically why that may be wrong, I know my God. So if you can't get understanding about why that sin may be a sin, or why that thing you desire is wrong, or not beneficial to you, or beneficial in general, at least you get an understanding of who God is and his ways, right? Because if God said no, then it's for my protection because he's my protector. But if you don't know God as your protector, then you won't see his no as protection or his yes as protection. If you don't have that understanding about God, then you'll think he's hiding something from you. Then now in your immaturity, you want to go and investigate. Well, what was he hiding from me? But in your maturity, you know God, you matured in him. You know his character. You have understanding about his ways. You wouldn't go looking to go see what, you wouldn't even think he's hiding something from you because you know if it's hidden, it ain't for me to know right now. And that's for my good, right? I think about even the garden. When the serpent came to her, he don't want you to know what he knows. Like, he don't want you to be like him. And then in her immaturity, wants to see what it is that God is hiding from her. No. Here's an example that I can offer that will really put this thing into perspective in terms of this desire that we have to do certain things and how when you're immature, you seek to do what is forbidden, right? Because if I'm told not to touch the stove as a child, I'm thinking as a child, you're trying to hold something from me. You're telling me what to do. I don't like you telling me what to do. As a human being, I need to be in control of my own life. I need the power. I need to tell myself what I'm doing and not doing, not you. So you tell me not to touch the stove, and guess what I'm going to do? Touch the stove. Because why can't I touch the stove? It's right there. So when you're immature, you seek to do the thing that is forbidden. I told you not to do it, and now you go and do it. So the best thing sometimes for a child is to just not tell them. Don't tell them not to do stuff, because you tell them not to do it is exactly what they're about to go do. Or maybe you can do reverse psychology, okay? Don't go to bed early, and now they want to go to bed early because you told them not to go to bed early. I don't know. Maybe try it, right? Use reverse psychology because, listen, you got to learn how to deal with people and their flesh, especially when they're a child and immature. But as an adult, as someone who is mature, you tell me not to touch the stove, I'm already like, my brain is already telling me like, okay, maybe the stove is hot. Maybe they just finished cooking. Maybe they're working on something. I might get harmed. You know, it's dangerous for me to touch the stove right now. Like, I've already factored in all these different reasons as to why I'm being told not to touch the stove. I'm not going to go touch the stove because I am mature. I am an adult. I have had experience. I have understanding about situations. I have understanding about people. Like, I have understanding about certain different circumstances and situations. So I can understand. And I don't need to investigate. I don't need to go and do it even though I was told not to do it, right? But a child doesn't have that understanding. And so spiritually as well, there are certain things you tell a group of people, some gonna want to do exactly what you told them not to do. Others completely understand. They don't even got to ask any questions. With God, sometimes it's like, why you don't have issue with God saying we can't do that? And you're like, I mean, because he's God. Like, it's obviously for our good. But their minds can't wrap around that because they don't even have experience with God. And that's okay. Get your experience, right? Overall, I just want us to be okay with where we're at. There's nothing wrong or right with where you're at. I would say if you're listening to this podcast, I'm sure that you have in mind you want to grow. All of us are wanting to grow. Just grow. Just decide you're growing. You see something, you see it wrong. I'm going to grow. Lord, help me to understand. Give me understanding. Help me to see you as this person. Help me to know your character. Help me to understand your character and your ways. So that when you tell me not to do something, I won't do it. When you tell me to go this way, I will go that way because I understand how you move and you work, and I understand spiritual laws. I understand how things work spiritually. You don't have to pretend. And I think that's the beauty of the journey. It's like you don't need to pretend. But a lot of us have been accustomed to seeing things a certain way and people speaking a certain way and things being done a certain way. And if it's not done that way, then it's wrong. Maybe they're just a child, or maybe they're just an adult, but you've been around children your whole life. So when you see an adult, you're confused. Maybe you've been around spiritually immature people your whole life, and now you see a spiritually mature person, and now you're confused. But it's okay. We're all growing. Just continue to grow. So that's just a thought and something for you to ponder upon. Again, there's no right or wrong answer here. I'm just feeding you some information. So at the end of this, you can't say I didn't know. At the end of this, you're responsible for this information. And My prayer is that you would not perish for the lack of knowledge. Right? Again, your actions dictate whether you're immature or mature. And when you're immature, you seek to do what is forbidden. So with that in mind, figure out where you are. It doesn't define you. It just speaks to where you are on your journey. And just decide to grow. And just keep growing. Because if you're here, I'm sure it's because you're growing. Just keep growing. You're good. All right? I love you, but Jesus loves you so much. Be blessed, be blessed, be blessed.